All right, let's start with the big developments that are taking place in the small island nation of Maldives, where just a day after a state of emergency was declared in Maldives for the period of next 15 days by President Abdullah Yameen, 5 people have been arrested so far. And this, of course, includes ex-President Mamouna Gayoom, his son-in-law Adhyam, and also Chief Justice Abdullah Said, Justice Ali Hamid, and Judicial Administrator Hassan Said have been arrested in the last 10 hours. All right, now for more on this, we are joined in on the phone line by Mr. Ahmed Naseem, who is a former Foreign Minister of Maldives, who joins us live from Male. Mr. Naseem, these are rapid developments that are taking place. The first event, of course, that took place was the Supreme Court ruling, which the present President Abdullah Yameen has chosen not to implement. What's playing out in the country?
I am very sorry, I can't hear you clearly at all.
Right, Mr. Naseem, let me repeat my question. My question to you was, in the last 12 hours, we have witnessed about 4 to 5 high-profile arrests, which includes that of a former president and also 2 of the Supreme Court judges. What's playing out in Maldives at this point of time?
Yes, the former president, Mamouna Gayoom, has been arrested, who is the half-brother of the present president. And I don't know exactly how many people have been arrested, but out of the prominent figures, Supreme Court judges have been arrested. Mr. Gayoom's, Mamouna Gayoom's son-in-law has been arrested. And also Judicial Services head has been arrested. You see, the whole thing, this entire process has been by the dictator Yameen, is to see that he remains in power. Nothing else. He is actually not interested in you see, everything is going on. Only thing is politically motivated hate and for him to stay in power. The entire process has been executed just for him to stay in power. He does not care about it. From the time he came to power, he initially organized a coup to overthrow the legitimately elected government of Maldives. He was behind the coup. And in 2012, February 7th coup was organized by Yameen.
Right.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Naseem, are we looking at... Okay. Mr. Naseem, my question to you is, Abdullah Yameen took power in 2013. There was a semblance of democracy, at least then. But now, are we looking at another long phase of dictatorship in Maldives?
No. President Yameen did not take power in 2013. He took power in 2012.
Okay.
He already had power because he planted his man, the former vice president of vice president of President Nasheed.
Right.
So he took power in 2012. Coup. He organized the coup to overthrow. And so many people were beaten up on the streets of Maldives.
Okay.
So he is the man behind the coup. And then again he cheated in 2013 election and he came to power. He cannot win an election in Maldives because he has no popularity in the country. So he used his brute force and the scheming and everything to come to power.
Right.
And so he did that. He cheated in the election. He had illegal votes cast with the police and the military, and then he won the elections in 2013. So after doing all that, now he wants to remain in power. All his desire, his wish is to make money. He has been robbing the country, stealing the country, and taking the country. Even in his house, they say that there are millions of dollars spent, and he can't take it out of the country. So this is exactly what is going on. So he wants to remain in power in order to make money. He knows that he has no popular support in the country. He is not remain the country's president. Yameen knows that he has no popularity in the country. So he's using the police and the army to do this. And that's also a fraction of the army and the police.
Right.
But they have brutalized the country from the day one he came to power. He has been brutalizing the people.
Right, Mr. Naseem. And also, as you've served as the former foreign minister of Maldives, my question to you is, what is the opposition going to do now? Because we've heard some voices saying that they want India to actually step in and help the people in Maldives. What is going to be the role of the opposition now? Is it that the opposition is completely quelled? What's happening there?
The opposition is not going in, not entering their homes. They will be on the streets, they will fight for their rights and the people's rights, and the opposition will be active. But this is what the opposition of Maldives have been telling for the last 4 years, that this man is going in this election. It's been telling the international community, has been publicly talking about it, and this is the end result. And now the situation is very, very bad in the country because there is no constitution, there is no parliament, there is absolutely nothing.
Right.
Only his rule. So his dreams and fancies are carried out by his cronies in the military, and then this is a situation that no nation should actually face. But unfortunately, it has happened. You know that India has brought out statement condemning all this, and also the White House, the United States, and the State Department has brought out statements on this, condemning all these things. And also many European countries have come out with statements condemning these acts. So now it's time for the international community to do more than just condemning. And we hope that the international community will be coming forward, especially our neighbors will be coming forward with stronger measures in order to put this in right.
Fair enough, Mr. Naseem. Right, thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed Naseem, for having joined us and having given us an update as to what is in fact playing out in Maldives even as we speak, where in the course of the last 12 hours, about 4 to 5 very high-profile arrests have been made. It is essentially being described as a coup by the former President Mohammad Nasheed of Maldives. And also to discuss more on this, we have with us our senior editor, Surya Gangadharan, who's joined me over the phone line. Surya, are we looking at another phase of a long phase of dictatorship in the Maldives, where it was only perhaps in the last 1 decade that there had been a sort of a fig leaf semblance of democracy in that small island nation?
Absolutely, because if you recall, under former President WION, it was pretty much a dictatorship, you know. It was, he ran that country for about 30 odd years. He ran it with an iron hand. And if you recall the circumstances in which he left, it followed public protests. There was a lot of agitation in the streets. There was international pressure on him to back off and leave. So we are seeing a repeat of that, although one gets the impression perhaps that this time it may not, it may be as serious, you know. You have elements of the army involved, you have elements of the police. We also understand there are divisions within them. So it's a little confused picture. Let's see how things turn out.
Absolutely, indeed. And the developments are being viewed very, very closely, considering the strategic importance of Maldives, located centrally in the Indian Ocean. How important are these developments in Maldives from India's perspective, Surya?
Well, it's in India's backyard, and its instability in our backyard is always worrying. And to add to that, you have China, which is appears to have President Abdullah Yameen pretty much in its pocket. Given the kind of investments they've been making there and the kind of strategic entry they made into the Maldives. So it's worrying for India, and we've also had reports earlier of Maldives becoming some kind of a recruiting ground for Islamic groups, including the Islamic State. So although that seems to have died down of late, the Chinese presence there is worrying.
The Chinese presence is worrying, and also we've heard calls for help from India, from the former President Mohammad Nasheed, who said that, you know, he expects India to perhaps do a little more in the crisis that is unfolding in Maldives. Is there something that India can actually do here?
Well, that's $1 million question. I think right now Abdullah Yameen is actually on the defensive because he's cracked down on all his opponents. And in that sense, he has no moral high ground at all. The world is against what he's doing. There is pressure in his own country against what he's doing. Will that push, perhaps result in a general uprising against Abdullah Yameen? We don't know as yet. There are no indications of that. So I think it's a wait-and-watch game right now. The world wouldn't want to intervene in what is basically an internal affair of Maldives, unless it gets to a point where there's widespread killing and riots, that kind of thing. So I think the world will wait and watch.
to Surya Gangadharan, and also to Mr. Abdul Naseem, who joined us earlier from Mali. So these are pretty much fast-paced developments that are taking place, where in the course of the last 12 hours, there has been a serious crackdown in terms of the arrests that have been made. Abdullah Yameen, the present president, appears to be inching forward towards a dictatorship with every passing hour.